Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the Rollout Show. My name is Weston and I will be your host. I'm sitting here in this office, joined with my co-host.
Hi.
Yep, that's all he's going to give me, everybody. Hi. That's his name, otherwise known as Bradley Penrose.
I'm Bradley. Calm down.
Solid effort, man. You're killing this right now.
Thank you.
You started out with a burp. That's what this show starts. Our entire show.
We might edit that out.
No, we're leaving that in. Our podcast is going to start with a burp. That we want people to know who we are.
Good.
We're staying true to ourselves.
Good.
Okay.
I want
Keep it 100. All right, guys.
Don't.
Keep it 100.
Oh gosh.
Yep, that's me. All right. So, in this conversation of two people sitting across a coffee table talking about sports.
We're not at a coffee table though. We're in an office.
But we have Starbucks in our hands.
We do.
So, I mean, it's like that's Starbucks slogan. Wherever there's Starbucks, it's like you're sitting across a coffee table talking with a friend. That should be their slogan. Anyway, hire me, folks. I'm available. Let's start by talking about the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Did you watch the Super Bowl?
We watched it together.
We did?
Yeah. Do you not remember?
Wait, who even played in the Super Bowl?
That would be the greatest quarterback of all time against Julio Jones.
Oh, yeah. Matt Schaub started, right?
Yeah.
You know, the best quarterback on the Falcons roster?
Matty Ice, Matt Schaub.
Yeah, Matt Schaub. Mr. Pick Six.
He's good.
Yeah, you know, he's going to be the starter for the 49ers.
You know, he probably is,
Yeah,
and that's the sad
thing.
I would start Matt Schaub over Blaine Gabbert or Colin Kaepernick. That's the horrifying thing about it.
That's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
But hey, he had glory days for like 2 years in Houston when they were basically the same as they are now, where they never won anything.
What happened to him? He wasn't that bad.
It was like a mental thing. He started out as the backup in Atlanta, then they drafted Matt Ryan, so they traded him. And then he just has this great run with Houston on a team with a ton of talent, yet still never went anywhere, just like Houston usually does. And then he just couldn't stop throwing pick sixes.
But don't you think Houston fans would kill to have Matt Schaub right now? I mean,
Matt Schaub in this prime, like old school Matt Schaub.
They're throwing 8-foot dude out there who takes 5 years to throw the ball. Come on.
Hey man, you can time his release with a sundial, all right? I like watching that.
You're not wrong.
Hey man, and plus it's Brock Osweiler. It's always entertaining.
He couldn't get the starting job over an 80-year-old Peyton Manning who couldn't throw it 15 yards downfield.
But you know what? Peyton Manning had all that heart. All the heart.
All right. This went way off topic.
All right, anyway. Back to the Super Bowl. So, that was actually a really, really good Super Bowl. One of the best we've had in a while.
It was one of the best I've ever seen. Granted, 22. But,
yeah, granted that. It's the greatest comeback we've ever seen in Super Bowl history.
It's the only overtime game in Super Bowl history.
This is very true. So, we also had two of the biggest plays we've ever seen in a Super Bowl that could both supplant the David Tyree catch, which is one of the greatest plays I've ever seen, which is the Julian Edelman catch, and then the superior catch that everybody in the world knows was the Julio Jones play, which was just a work of art.
See, and I haven't heard anybody talk about this Julio Jones catch, and for the record, I was rooting for the Patriots. Julian Edelman's catch was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in sports history. But it was luck. You can't deny that catching the ball when it was a millimeter away from touching the ground was 100% luck. That Julio catch, that man jumped so high and grabbed that ball with his fingertips as hard as he could and threw his toes on the ground. It was incredible.
The man's working with half a foot, and he's still like getting off the line, getting open, making spectacular plays, getting both feet in. I mean, I may be a little biased, but he is probably the best receiver in the league.
I don't know. I think you got to give AB some credit, man. Antonio Brown is out there at 5'10", and he's making stuff happen.
But we're talking about Julio Jones, Mr. Quintoris himself.
Mr. Quintoris. By the way, what name would you prefer to have? Quintoris or Julio? Give me Quintoris. That's such a cool name.
I think I'd just go by Q. What up, Q? How you doing? Quintoris Jones. You just got burned by Quintoris Jones. I totally take that all day long.
Q, huh?
Q. Yeah,
Q.
Q. Hey, man. What's up, Q? How you doing? Doing all right? Just be solid.
Wow.
Anyway, Julio Jones. That was one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. And as soon as I saw the Edelman play, when it was basically kept up in the air by a defender's leg, I knew that no one was ever going to remember the Julio catch.
Well, the other thing about that Edelman catch was it should have been a pick.
Oh, yeah. Tom Brady threw into triple coverage, which is ridiculous.
Tom Brady, all right, we're done with that. You can argue about which catch you think was better. I think it's pretty obvious that the Julio one was. But anyway, Tom Brady was trash that game.
He was.
Matt Ryan played circles around the greatest quarterback of all time. And he won't be remembered by that because of the horrible play calling by Kyle Shanahan.
With Kyle Shanahan with 1 foot out the door heading to San Francisco, just trying to coast on out. I mean, why? You have 2 of the best running backs in football, and you're not running the football. And you have a huge lead. Like, what are you doing?
And all those dropbacks, when all they had to do was take a knee and kick a field goal, was pathetic.
And then also you lose your right tackle, and then yet you're still calling pass plays, and you have your center is playing on a broken leg with who knows what the heck he's taking to try to play through this, and you're still trying to drop back and throw deep passes. Like, you have no need to do that. Just run out the clock.
Yeah, it really didn't make any sense whatsoever. But, I mean, I don't know if the pressure got to him or if he was trying to win the game. I don't know what he was thinking.
I guess he just trusted Matt Ryan, just did the exact same thing he did all year long, but it still didn't make any sense.
Well, their O-line was banged up.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because throughout the season, they relied a lot on the run to set up Julio Jones. They'd run early and then set up middle to deep passes with Julio, and if Julio wasn't open, they'd dump it off to Taylor Gabriel, who gets so many yards after the catch, it didn't even matter. And then in the Super Bowl, it seems like they either tried to do reverse of what they'd usually do or just decided to pad stats and just showcase Julio and Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It was weird. I think as much as I was rooting for the Patriots, because I like to see greatness and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
Bandwagon.
Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are the definition of sports greatness. I think it's fair to say that Patriots didn't win that game.
Oh, absolutely not.
The Falcons handed it to them on a silver platter, and Tom Brady gobbled it up.
I was worried that entire game because you see Tom Brady playing like crap. Let's be honest. That first half, he was terrible.
Even in the second half, he wasn't that good.
He
was
really
missing
wasn't.
Wide open guys, throwing into triple coverage, making bad decisions. The best decision he made was his 20-yard scramble running a 7-4 flat.
7-4 40. Oh, goodness. But, I mean, he really didn't play that great of a game, which is why I was really upset he won MVP in the first place because, I mean, it seems like it is just the token quarterback award unless you're Von Miller.
How did James White not get MVP?
I mean, and then
he had 14 catches and 3 touchdowns.
It's ridiculous. He accounted for 20 points, and he's not even their top running back. He displaced LeGarrette Blount, and then also Dion Lewis was basically a non-factor except the last play on regulation when he gets injured. And
sucks for that, dude.
Oh my God. He's so great. But, I mean, now James White is just going to be the guy, at least heading into the season. But anyway, and then you have Dante Hightower making 2 of the greatest plays in that game to even set up the Patriots even coming back at all. And then nobody seems to remember Dante Hightower either.
No, nobody. He should have come in second place for MVP. That fumble by Matt Ryan, if that fumble didn't happen, the game's over.
Oh, absolutely. And the 2 Alabama guys make these great plays, and nobody's going to remember. And it's overshadowed. I know the bottom line, the stats that Brady had were ridiculous. It looks like a great game, But Peyton Manning had the exact same thing in the Super Bowl, Broncos Seahawks, where he set the completion record for the Super Bowl, yet got blown out.
But enough serious sports talk. I'd like to talk about the Knicks for a moment, if you don't mind.
Are we talking about the New York Knicks?
I mean, does New York still claim them? I wouldn't.
I mean, I think they should be renamed to the Charles Oakley Knicks, but I mean, that's just another thing.
I think if Charles Oakley ran for mayor of New York City right now, he would win.
Yes. I'd love to see an election where it's James Dolan versus Charles Oakley and just see what happens.
James Dolan has no chance.
Oh,
it's over.
And then firing the vice president of security when that was basically textbook how you handle a situation like that. Like, that could have gotten so out of control, and it was just handled. But James Dolan needed to find some kind of scapegoat to cover up the fact that he's afraid of Charles Oakley and doesn't want him around because Charles Oakley speaks his mind and will actually say, hey, the Knicks are terrible. Phil Jackson isn't doing anything to help this team, yet he's banking $12 million.
Well, did you hear what he said on Stephen A. Smith's radio show?
I did not hear that.
According to Charles Oakley, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the quote in front of me, that he had basically just arrived at the arena for a few minutes, wasn't talking to James Dolan, and security came up to him and said, we've been given orders to escort you out of the building. And that's when Charles Oakley exploded. Of course, that's one side of the story. Who knows how much truth there is to that, but that's his claim, and he is very happy to take James Dolan to court about it.
And see, do we really find that unbelievable that James Dolan would see Charles Oakley in the arena and say, hey, yeah, get him out of here because I don't want him here? Because, I mean, he was a very physical player in his time, and he's also been very, very critical of the Knicks and had a falling out with James Dolan that they've tried to repair in the past, or at least Oakley has said he's tried to repair, and then James Dolan is just unwilling.
Well, I think he's afraid of him. I would be.
I mean, I would be afraid of him. That's
a hard dude.
That is a menacing man, let me tell you. Like, if I ran into Charles Oakley in the street, I would not want to square up against him.
I would turn and run. Well, yeah. I mean, I would say, hi, how are you?
Huge Oak fan. Huge Oak fan. I mean, huge Oak fan.
Been a Knicks fan for life.
It's been great. Just huge Oak fan. Think you should be running the Knicks and not Phil Jackson, even though Isaiah Thomas had a better record than Phil Jackson at this point. But that's,
I didn't know you were on the Knicks until this whole fiasco, but a lifelong Knicks fan.
Yep.
And I mean, this is just a piling on of the Knicks' horrible franchise lately. What's up with this Carmelo thing?
I mean, just seeing Carmelo play, I don't get to see Carmelo play as often as I should, but I was sitting after a Magic game the other night, and I was sitting there watching the Knicks. It was actually the Oakley game when everything was going on. Just seeing Carmelo play, and you kind of forget how great Carmelo actually is because most of the teams he's been on have been pretty terrible teams, but he's one of the best players in the league. He's not where he used to be or where he could have been in the past, but he's still a star.
He is, let alone one of the best players in the league, he's one of the best offensive players ever. He's in the top 10, arguably in the top 5 of greatest offensive ISO players ever. It's he and Phil Jackson, the greatest NBA coach of all time, has cemented himself arguably as the worst NBA executive of all time. What is he doing?
Oh, he's definitely been worse than Jordan. Jordan used to take that title as being like the worst GM in basketball because you can't take somebody who is great in one arena. You can't take a great player and make him a coach and expect him to be great.
But that's not true.
I mean, there's some exceptions to that. Yeah. There's some exceptions, but that's generally the rule. You can't just expect that greatness to carry over. That's very evident with Phil Jackson being president of the Knicks. And honestly, I'm still surprised he even wants that job. I guess it is all about the money because You can kind of tell he still wants to be in Los Angeles. I mean, he broke up with his fiance over the whole thing because they're so far apart, but he's still cashing the checks.
Well, he didn't want the job. Dolan kept raising the offer until it was so much money, I believe $12 million a year to be a president of a basketball operations. And you can't turn down that kind of money. It's too good.
He hasn't done anything. And how much money does James Dolan have that he can afford to pay a president $12 million and then still pay all those salaries? Like, I mean, overpaying Joakim Noah, overpaying Courtney Lee, overpaying David West back in the day.
Overpaying Derrick Rose, who's trash.
Hey, man, D. Rose is still, like, the best player in the league, right? Like, this isn't 2009? Oh, my bad.
He wasn't the best player in the league in 2009.
What?
Do you really think he was the best player in the league in 2009? Over LeBron and Kobe? Are you out of your mind? Over CP3?
Oh, yeah, CP3's always been the greatest player in the league. How could I forget? He's the best point guard in the league. He's the best player ever. Man, do I love me some CP3.
What is your problem with
winner.
CP3?
He's such a winner. Man, I mean, if I'm starting any team right now, it is Chris Paul all the way.
He's in the West. What do you want him to do? He's got to get through the Warriors and the Spurs.
Oh, you remember when Chris Paul was on the Clippers before the Warriors got good?
He still had to get to the
still
Spurs.
Didn't win anything.
The West was still deep, and it was still really good.
Oh, you remember when the Spurs were, like, trotting out everybody was, like, 39 and 40 and still took it to the Clippers?
Because they...
Do you remember Memphis Grizzlies taking it to the Clippers with much less talent? Zach Randolph just getting in Blake Griffin's grill, even though he's a foot shorter and 10 years older?
Look, man, your CP3 hate goes too far. It goes too far.
It's not hate. It's just everybody is in love with CP3 and thinks he's this great player. And honestly, the Clippers never go anywhere. And I love Doc Rivers as a coach. Doc Rivers is one of the greatest coaches in the NBA. But the Clippers just never get anywhere. And it's always the same thing. Well, they just ran into a better team. Well, they have 3 superstars on their team and a great supporting cast. So what gives here? I mean, sometimes somebody has to take the blame, and he's the leader of that team. And the leader of the team has to take the blame. I mean, am I wrong?
You got some real hot takes here. This wasn't supposed to be the hot take section, but you are fired up.
I'm on fire. Buckets. Bark if you agree. Thank you.
That's staying in.
We got Lucy's agreement that Chris Paul is overrated. All right, Bradley, you agree? All right, overruled.
No. See, and that's the thing. Nobody's saying that CP3 is the best point guard in the league right now.
Oh, he's clearly not.
He is probably back half of the top 5. Maybe 6 or 7. How many point guards would you take over CP3?
Steph.
Agreed.
James Harden. Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
And, here's where we hit a roadblock.
Lillard. I would take
Damian Lillard. I definitely would. I'd take Conley over him. I know I'm in the minority there, but I'd take Mike Conley over him.
You're out of your mind.
No,
your bias is showing.
Oh, my bias. Kyrie Irving, I'd take over Chris Paul.
Kyrie, yeah.
John Wall, I'd take over Chris Paul.
I agree.
I'd take Kimba over Chris Paul.
Come on, man. Kimba's
good.
Come on. CP3's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's also old. I'd take Kimba Walker if I'm starting a team right now. I mean, am I wrong? Like,
yes.
mean, who are you taking right now?
Wrong.
Chris Paul or
Chris Paul?
Okay, you're the guy that's going to be trotting out D Wade at 45.
God, I hate you.
It's because I give you the sports takes that you don't want to hear, but you know are true. That's my role on this show.
What's next? I'm done talking about CP3. You're an idiot.
All right, so let's talk about the Miami Marlins.
Go for it.
What, no baseball talk for you?
Baseball's not my forte. Cubs, they won the World Series. Theo Epstein, greatest executive of all time. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Well, I would just tell you to look at the Cubs and what they're going to be in 5 years, and then you'll agree with me.
That's 5 years from now. You can't possibly predict what's going to happen.
Oh, you can't predict what's going to happen. I just have history to back it up. I mean, he could, change, but he kind of ran the Red Sox into the ground.
He got them 2 World Series and broke the curse.
Oh,
Who cares?
That's the whole thing. That's what makes everybody, and I agree that he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's a great executive, but I don't know if he's the greatest executive of all time.
Oh, I don't know that either.
But it's because it's the narrative. He broke the curses. It's two franchises that have run into some bad luck or were ran very, very poorly for a long time. And Theo was able to turn things around, and he's a very, very good general manager. But sometimes he drinks too much of his own Kool-Aid. You can look at the Red Sox and how they had to dismantle everything, and they were very fortunate that the Dodgers were coming into a ton of cash and wanted to make a huge splash, taking on over $250 million in contracts that were not working out in Boston. It's the reason Theo Epstein lost his job in Boston and was able to move on to the Cubs and completely start from scratch. It's because he overspent on free agents that he should have never brought in the first place, and it didn't work out. And then they were trapped with all these bad deals, and he had to find a taker, and it actually wasn't even Theo Epstein that found the taker, it was Ben Cherington. And then Ben Cherington blew the whole thing up, and then won the World Series in 2013. Now, did they have as much talent on that team as they did the year before with all the big-name free agents? No, but they were a better overall team, and it's not always having the best team on paper, it's how that team plays as a unit, and Ben Cherington did that better. And he was also the scouting director, which allowed Theo to groom all these prospects and then turn them into trades and into free agents, and then also completely keep developing the farm. And it was Ben Cherington, and Cherington doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Are you done? Do you need to take a breath? Do you need a sip of water?
Yeah, I was running a little low on oxygen there a little bit.
You were going hard on that. I'm impressed.
It's the sports takes that you don't hear, but that you need to hear. That's right. Cubs aren't going to win the World Series again. Well, not next year. They may win another one, but not next year.
I mean, you got a 29-30 chance of that happening. That's pretty good odds.
Exactly. That's why I'm rolling with it.
If I could go to Vegas and throw a bunch of money down on the Cubs not making the World Series, I'd probably do that. Give me the field over the Cubs. Thank you very much.
So, Tiger versus the field.
I'll take Tiger. He's not in this tournament. I'll take Tiger. Thank you.
That was the golf discussion for the past 10 years. Well, until
what?
Until Thanksgiving of 2012?
Yeah, when he hobbled around on one leg and won the U.S. Open.
Oh, I loved watching that tournament.
That's one of the few golf tournaments I've actually watched, and I loved it.
It was like playoff golf. It was like hard hitting.
I mean, the
golf.
game actually went to the playoffs, didn't it?
Exactly, and it was
a playoff. I'm sorry,
it went to multiple playoff holes. It was ridiculous. We had a 3-way tie, and then you end up having the improbable Rocco Mediate, who's the biggest underdog in the history of underdogs, against arguably the greatest golfer of all time in his prime. I mean, had we all been polled then, would Tiger Woods break Jack Nicklaus's record? I'm pretty sure 95% of people would have said yes.
I would have said yes. He was on pace to destroy it.
He was basically having his way with the entire PGA. Like, no matter what he did, even if he was, 6 or 7 shots behind on the final day, you could just hear the footsteps behind you. Tiger was coming.
He was the most dominant player in any professional sport for a period of 6 or 7 years that we've ever seen. More dominant than Roger Federer. The only one you might be able to make a case for is Serena Williams, but the fact that she didn't complete her Grand Slam, I think, hurts her case.
It does definitely hurt her. She is great, though, but...
But, I mean, Tom Brady, maybe, but I would take Tiger's...
I would take Tiger.
I mean...
I can't think of anybody else. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, unless it's, a sport that's, not of the major 5 or 6 sports that you'd think of. I mean, I can't think of, anybody in, like, horse racing that did something ridiculous like that.
Floyd Mayweather's never lost, but...
Yeah,
think
I
the
don't
level
consider
of,
that in the same.
the level of competition in boxing just isn't what it used to be.
Oh no, and the level of competition in golf has gotten better than it had been in the past. And then
Absolutely.
Tiger, I mean, just think about how many people are in a golf tournament versus Floyd just picking and choosing who he wants to fight on any given, once a year.
Well, I mean, Phil Mickelson he's gonna go down as he's a Hall of Famer, right?
Oh yeah, Phil Mickelson is amazing, but
He
just
he would be remembered as one of the greatest golfers of all
Golfers?
time, golfers
Yeah.
of all time, if it wasn't for Tiger ruining the prime of his career.
I mean, Phil. I mean, he would win. He'd win the Masters here or there. He never won the U.S. Open is because Tiger would always come in and just wreck everything.
He's too good, man.
He was a monster in his
He was
prime.
too good.
Yeah, I mean, I think those days are kind of behind us,
I think,
unfortunately.
and it's sad because there's a lot of people that are hanging on to hope that Tiger can come back and win a couple majors. He's not going to win another tournament.
I mean, part of me is also hoping that Tiger comes back because just golf was so great when Tiger was just coming in there and just forcing playoffs, and then whenever you got to the playoff, you could see on just golfers' faces just almost shaking in their boots that, I mean, they're going up against greatness, like something we've never seen before. And, I mean, I still watch golf, and golf is great, and it's really entertaining because there's so many more different faces than, it used to be just Tiger and Phil and then whoever else was out there. So, I mean, that part is really good, but it's just seeing greatness, and then when the greatness isn't there, and you see the guy out there, and he's still trying to play, just not quite where it used to be, and then basically having to quit halfway through any tournament because injuries get to him, it's just sad to see.
Well, in individual sports that don't draw a lot of casual fans, like a tennis, like a golf, maybe even like boxing, you have to have a singular person to root for. When Tiger was playing, millions of people who don't watch golf, myself included, watched because they wanted to see Tiger play. Millions of people tune in to women's tennis so that they can see Serena Williams play. Millions of people watch males tennis because they want to see Federer play. And when you don't have an individual who's dominant, it's hard for a casual fan to know who to root for when the field is so big. And so you lose that casual fan base, and all you're left with are the hardcore fans, which is great. I mean, golf right now for the hardcore fan is fantastic because the field is deep and it's talented. But you don't have someone for the casual fans to root for, and it's hurting golf.
And I just remember I used to play miniature golf and would occasionally fiddle around, play a little golf, but watching Tiger was one of the main reasons I went to the first tee, started taking golf lessons and grew to love the game of golf and actually play competitive golf.
Did you just say that Tiger Woods is the reason that you play mini golf? Is that what you just said?
No, Tiger Woods is the reason why I played real golf, not mini golf, Bradley.
My bad.
I mean, mini golf was killing time in Branson, Missouri with the family and, over in Orlando because, I mean, come on, who doesn't like playing golf on a pirate ship? I mean, that's kind of fantastic.
It's a great mini golf course.
Oh, that's a great mini golf course. You get the waterfalls coming down, then you have, like, somebody that looks like Johnny Depp in some sculpture because, they bought it off of Disney when they changed the ride, and then, just popping out at you. I mean, that's fantastic.
We've gone, like, 6 or 7 minutes now, and we went from introducing the Marlins topic to golf, and we never touched on the Marlins. And you know what? I think that's a fine end to the Marlins segment.
I mean, can you even name 4 people on the Miami Marlins, Bradley? There's one really obvious one. Come on.
Isn't that who... well, Hanley Ramirez used to play for them.
Good job. Yeah, he used to.
Now he plays for the Red Sox. You know what? No, I can't. Wow.
Can you name even one?
You're really calling me out. Woo. No. I don't think
If only
I can.
we had the rights to the Jeopardy theme song right now, we'd be killing it.
Yeah. I'm not a huge baseball guy. But no, I have
Okay, we're
no
gonna
idea.
we're gonna work on that. We're gonna get him into baseball. He's gonna start rocking a huge Giancarlo Stanton jersey. He's gonna have like D. Gordon stuff everywhere. He's gonna get that poster. He's gonna have Tom Kohler as his favorite starting pitcher in fantasy baseball.
And I would like to get in,
JT Realmuto.
I would like to get into baseball, and I think fantasy baseball is a great way to do that. But I don't know, man. I've tried. I gotta get into it a little bit more.
So on that note, if any of you all would like to play fantasy baseball with us, you can hit us up at the Rollout Show on Twitter.
Absolutely. If we can get enough people together, we will make a league for sure.
And you will most likely lose to me because I'm a monster and have, won multiple fantasy football crowns. And not going to lie, I finished very close in fantasy baseball, but I'm still looking for that first World Series title. But I will guarantee you're not going to be worse than Bradley, considering I don't think he can name 5 baseball players right now.
Is Derek Jeter still a good draft pick?
Dude, I think you should take him number 1 overall.
I thought so.
Just for the off-the-field stuff. I mean, the people he hangs out with, that plays a lot in fantasy baseball. You have a huge off-the-field component.
Is it? I had no idea.
It's a huge off-the-field component. So, honestly, Johnny Manziel, his rights are technically owned by the Padres. So if you get Manziel, dude, you're going to take the league.
Thank you for that great advice.
Oh, no problem, man. I'm always here to help you out, and I want you to succeed in fantasy baseball. You're still not going to beat me, but I want you to succeed.
I appreciate that, man. That's really nice of you.
Yeah, no problem. So, moving on, as we've gone 50 years away from where we initially started.
Oh, God.
Let's talk about the 49ers.
What's there to say? I don't
even know if I can name anybody else besides Kaepernick and Torrey Smith. Kaepernick's not going to be there, so
you got Lynch, the really good pass rusher who can't seem to stay out of trouble. You got
wait, you mean the general manager, right? John Lynch?
No, Aaron Lynch. That's his name, right? Aaron Lynch. I think that's
right.
Yeah,
that is a guy. All right, yeah, I remember him. Sure.
USF,
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he's a good pass rusher.
Go Bulls.
Go
Represent.
Bulls. Yeah.
Alden Smith still doing things? No, I know he's on the Raiders. Opposite Khalil Mack, if he can actually stay out of trouble.
What's up with the John Lynch hire, man? I like John Lynch. He was a great player, great broadcaster, but
I'm actually upset that he's not going to be broadcasting anymore.
Getting the GM job over qualified candidates like Louis Riddick.
Can we just turn the 49ers into a joke and actually have John Lynch be the general manager and giving play-by-play as his heart sinks, seeing how terrible of a team he put on the field?
No, he has to be the GM while doing play-by-play while playing safety.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
It'd be great.
He just has the Britney Spears kind of headset microphone. He's got the helmet on. He's just still trotting out there.
What better play-by-play than from someone who's actually on the field playing by play?
And also, when he sees somebody else that's next to him blow a coverage, he can just cut because he's so mad at him. Dude.
It's a brilliant idea.
Why aren't we running the Niners?
We should sell this idea to Fox.
This would honestly be probably primetime programming on Fox. He's still got the connection to Fox, right? He can still work for Fox and be the general manager of the Niners. Right?
That'd probably be a conflict of interest. I don't know.
Who cares? It's the Niners. They're not going to be good anyway.
Yeah. All right. Here, since you brought it up, bold prediction. Who has the first overall pick in 2018?
Patriots.
Are you proud of yourself?
Oh, I'm amazingly proud of myself. And I can tell because of the squeaky chair you just had in there, leaning back. That's how I know I'm proud of myself, and then made a great point. Honestly, it's not that far off.
What do you mean it's not that far off?
If Brady and Belichick retire next year,
they're not going to be the worst team in football. You think they're going to be worse than the 49ers?
I mean, they could make a trade with the 49ers.
They're still going to have Gronk. They're going to have Jimmy Garoppolo.
Are we sure they're going to have Gronk? Because Gronk's injured like every other year.
They'll have Martellus Bennett. They'll have Edelman. They'll have Amendola. They'll have Malcolm Mitchell. James White should have been Super Bowl MVP.
You mean Dante Hightower, right?
I mean, sure. No, but sure.
Roll Tide, everybody.
Why would you say that? Roll Tide?
Yeah,
people hate Alabama.
I know.
It's a very divisive point.
Maybe I'm doing this for entertainment, Bradley. I mean, did Dante Hightower not go to Alabama? I mean, what is the calling of Alabama? It's not like Go Tide. It's not like Go Crimson. It's not like Go Alabama.
It should be Go Crimson. That's pretty sweet.
I just thought of that on the fly.
That's pretty good, man.
I mean, I don't know. I think I need to trademark that. Go Crimson.
Yeah.
I mean, I should just start a company based in Tuscaloosa called Go Crimson and not even sell anything. Just hand out T-shirts.
Just hand out T-shirts? I feel like this isn't a very profitable company.
You know how good our marketing would be? Those T-shirts would be everywhere.
Yeah, but what are they going to buy when they know about the company? If you don't sell anything, you're just printing T-shirts at cost and not making any money. It's a terrible business decision.
I didn't go to school for business, Bradley, okay?
Says the man with the business degree. Anyway.
If you can't laugh at yourself, what can you do, right?
We were talking about the 49ers.
Oh, yeah, the Niners. I'd run the 49ers better than the Niners run the Niners. Anyway.
If they don't draft a quarterback... Well, let me rephrase the question. Who do you think is going to start for the 49ers next year? Kaepernick, Gabbert, or someone they drafted?
Is neither an option.
Who do you think?
I'm buying into the Matt Schaub discussion. Because what does Matt Schaub have to lose? I mean, he might as well go out to the 49ers. I mean, I don't think the quarterback is on that roster. You know how high I was on Blaine Gabbert coming out of the draft? I was a real big believer in Gabbert. But I honestly think because they're starting over from scratch, they're going to bring in Matt Schaub to bridge the gap. He's going to start at least a full year. I honestly think they're going to draft somebody in maybe the second round or trade down in the draft.
Oh, excuse you.
You ever have those times where you just like run out of breath?
You should breathe.
How do you breathe?
You proud of that one?
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be funny?
Dude, I'm always funny. Except when I'm serious.
Do you even remember what point you were making?
We're talking about football, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the 49ers.
Oh, yeah, Matt Schaub is going to be the starting quarterback of the 49ers.
You're an idiot, and let me tell you why. If you're the 49ers, you have no chance to win any game next season.
Yeah.
You bring in Matt Schaub, you're going to draft a quarterback because that's what you have to do. You're probably going to get Trubisky or Kaiser or maybe Deshaun Watson. And you're either... Then your decision is, do you start them or do you have a bridge? If you're going to have a bridge, why would you bring on Matt Schaub when you have Blaine Gabbert? You're not going to win anyway. Why would you add a fourth quarterback to your roster and get rid of depth somewhere else?
Honestly, because... And I was a huge Blaine Gabbert believer. But do you really want Blaine Gabbert to be your bridge quarterback?
Why?
I mean, I'm fine with keeping him on the roster, but I'd rather have Matt Schaub and his experience because he's experienced the very top and he's experienced a dumpster.
So you bring him on to basically be a coach for the young quarterback that you draft?
Exactly, because Blaine Gabbert can also add to the equation because he's been the high draft pick and can tell you, can coach up the quarterback as well and kind of be his friend and sounding board because he got thrown into the fire way too soon. So he was basically the equivalent of somebody like Trubisky who everybody knew had great potential and great talent, but had no business starting his first year, and then he gets thrown into the fire the first game.
But you can find quarterbacks who've had this experience that you can go talk to. Go talk to Peyton Manning. I'm sure he'd love to chat.
I mean, really? Do you think, some random dude, like, you think Mitch Trubisky
You're not some random dude. You're going to be the number 2 overall draft pick. You're not some random dude.
Do you know how much stuff Peyton Manning does? Do you think he's just randomly going to answer some question from some rookie quarterback out of the goodness of his heart?
Peyton Manning was just an example. All right. Don't come so hard at me.
There's a difference when you have, like, 2 guys in the locker room who have great experience to detail. You have Matt Schaub, who wasn't a high draft pick, was a backup quarterback, got a chance to start, blossomed, then hit a wall and fell off a cliff and was a backup quarterback again.
While I don't necessarily disagree with your point, if you're going to keep Cap, you're going to keep Blaine Gabbert.
I don't think they're keeping Cap.
Well, then I agree with your point.
Yeah.
If the roster remains as it is, you don't bring another quarterback on. If you're going to cut Cap, then sure, bring Matt Schaub. You're not going to hurt anything. Your team's going to be trash regardless.
I mean, the team is starting over. I mean, this is very clear because they signed them to 6-year deals and just basically cleaned house. So they're starting over, and Kaepernick is just a reminder of everything from the past. And it really hasn't worked out without Harbaugh. I mean, and Kaepernick's going to expect to start, and you're not really going to want to start him. And then he's also going to be upset if you bring in a high draft pick because you're planning to displace him. So I think they just cut bait with Kaepernick and either bring in Matt Schaub or keep Blaine Gabbert. And honestly, I think there's a higher chance that they keep Christian Ponder and Blaine Gabbert than they do of keeping
They
Kaepernick.
really like Christian Ponder.
Hey, I mean, a lot of people liked Christian Ponder. He's a number 12 pick in the draft. I mean, some people in that locker room had even said going into the year he was the best quarterback on the roster. He just didn't get a chance to play because Chip Kelly.
Yeah, that team's a joke. I don't think there's anything else to say about it.
I mean, except that they're going Cam Robinson at number 2, right?
That's too high. You have to
build with a left tackle, man. You know this. Everybody knows the key to success is just drafting offensive linemen and getting mediocre talent everywhere else.
Cowboys?
Offensive line wins championships, man.
I don't disagree with you. We'll see as we get through this process. I don't think Cam Robinson's good enough.
Oh, no. I don't think he's going to go that high. And, I mean, I'm a big Cam Robinson fan. He played pretty well at Alabama. And it's just a weak offensive line class in general, but yeah, he's not going that high. I don't think he's top 5, unless he just destroys the combine.
Which he might.
I mean, he's a monster.
He might lift. What do they bench? 225. He might put that thing up 50 times, and I bet he'll go in the top 5 then.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, you have a point. I mean, you may be talking myself into it, but I think he's at least top 15. I just don't know. A lot of people need O-line help, but I don't know if that many people really want to take a tackle that high when the quarterbacks are intriguing and you also have so much talent on the defensive side of the ball. And then you also have a guy like Mike Williams out there who somebody is going to reach for and just fall in love with, because I can just picture himself being like a Mike Evans kind of wide receiver in the NFL, just huge dude just jumping over people and coming down with ridiculous catches.
Honestly, other than Myles Garrett, I don't think there's a prospect in this draft I like more than Mike Williams. Did you see the national championship game? He was ridiculous.
The national championship game? I didn't happen to catch that one.
Anyway, speaking of Myles Garrett,
Okay.
I would like to voice an opinion on something. So Myles Garrett...
This is a no opinion show.
Myles Garrett came out and said that he wanted the Dallas Cowboys to trade Tony Romo and a bunch of picks to the Browns so that the Cowboys would draft him number 1 overall. All right. Myles Garrett, what are you doing, man?
Love it.
Love it?
You do you, man. Love it.
You can't single out 20... Oh my gosh, I almost just said the NFL had 20 or 30 teams. You can't single out 31 other teams.
Actually remembered something about baseball.
and the NBA. Anyway, you can't single out 31 other teams just because you want to play for the Cowboys. You're not going to play for the Cowboys. You're going to play for the Cleveland Browns, most likely. If not, you'll be playing for either the 49ers. You're going to be playing for the Jags. I don't remember the rest of the draft order. But you're going to be playing for a horrible team, and it won't be the Dallas Cowboys. You can't come out and say something like this.
I mean, Jacksonville's a nice spot. I mean, if you're going in the top 3, I'd want to go to Jacksonville personally because they have the most talent. I mean, most people thought they were going to be good this year. It was clear Gus Bradley was not the man for the job. But, I mean, in this day and age, we kind of want athletes to speak their mind, and we want to hear stuff like that see stuff like that on Twitter and everything. I love that.
But there's a difference between speaking your mind. You're a draft prospect who doesn't get to choose where you play. If the Browns draft you and you're serious about your feelings here, it may affect your ability to play. It may single out your teammates. I'm cool with athletes, given their opinions. They're human beings. They deserve free speech. I have no issues with, especially in the NBA right now, anytime an athlete wants to speak out. Or like Joe Thomas calling Roger Goodell a rat.
A rat.
That's awesome.
That was great.
I have an issue with a player stating openly that they don't want to play for a team. And I know it's happened before, Eli, but
Joey Bosa.
It's never happened where a player specifically said he only wanted to play for one team. And that's what I have a problem with.
I mean, do you blame him, though? I mean, he's from Texas, played at Texas A&M. The Cowboys have a chance to win. It's flashy, star on the helmet. They know they're trying to make a big move, and
the Cowboys
don't have a big pass rush.
I don't have a problem with him thinking that internally and with his circle. I have a problem with him making that public.
Well, he's a guy coming out of college. He clearly doesn't have any PR experience.
Oh, I agree with that.
That's very evident since he's, been trying to backtrack the entire time.
Oh,
no,
absolutely.
I didn't mean that. But honestly, he meant that. I mean, what guy in the draft doesn't mean that? Of all the teams in the NFL, I think most of the draft prospects would love to play for the Cowboys, teaming up with Dak, Zeke, Dez, Jason Witten. I mean, they seem to have a lot of fun over there, and they win a lot of football games, and you're on national TV every single week. Well, the Cowboys are everywhere.
And if you're an NFL draft prospect, you've probably been a football fan your whole life. You probably have a favorite team. You're probably a fan of the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't blame people for wanting to play for a specific team. I have a problem with them making it public, and I'm sure his agent has already talked to him, and that's why he's backtracking from what he said this morning. And that's my rant. I'm done.
Need some oxygen?
Oh, I'm good.
Myles Garrett, number 1 overall pick in the draft. Dallas Cowboys. Book it.
Book it?
Book it.
That's what you're going with?
Book it. That's just what came out, man. I don't know what to tell you. I also think the Browns are going to be in the Super Bowl next year, but that's just me. Taking that to Vegas.
It's not a horrible bet. What are the odds on that? Like 500 to 1?
Oh, I don't know. It has to be something ridiculous. But I mean, you might as well put down a couple bucks if you're gonna put down a couple bucks on anybody. Why put it down on the Patriots? You're not gonna make any money. You gotta be bold. You gotta put it on the Browns.
All right. That leads us to an interesting discussion.
Okay.
Assuming that the Browns do the right thing and keep Hugh Jackson in place.
I love Hugh Jackson, by the way. Love Hugh Jackson.
Assuming they keep him in place, they keep the front office intact, they do this the right way, how long until they're actual playoff contenders?
I mean, honestly, they have a lot of draft picks. That helps them out a lot. I mean, they have number 1 overall and number 12.
They've got that Moneyball strategy.
Paul DePodesta, a.k.a. Mr. Jonah Hill. He's real good. I was very intrigued by that hire in the first place because, I mean, Paul DePodesta, he's a baseball guy. He's really good at baseball trades, or was. He just didn't get the support of his organization. It was a very dysfunctional time for the Dodgers when he was running the Dodgers. But I don't know. I know how Paul DePodesta doesn't like overvalued assets, and he tries to exploit that from other teams. So honestly, if he trades out a number 1 overall, I would not be shocked whatsoever. And honestly, if I had to put money down on that, I think he would be.
And it wouldn't be a bad decision given this quarterback class, unless you really believe in. I mean, is Deshaun Watson the only quarterback that's ready to play? Kaiser and Trubisky both haven't played much at all.
And honestly, I don't think Watson's really ready to play, but of the 3, I think he's the most ready.
Here's the thing, in my opinion. You have 3 quarterbacks that are generally considered, they may not be first-round talents, but they will be drafted in the first round. If you have a clear, concise favorite who's leaps ahead of the other 3, you take him number 1 overall. If you don't, and all 3 are about equal, you take whichever one is left, if there's one left, which there should be, at 12. That's my opinion.
I mean, I kind of agree with that opinion, and honestly, I think a lot of people are really in love with Myles Garrett, even after he said that stuff about the Cowboys.
He's a beast. He's the best player in this draft.
Hands down, he's the best player in this draft, unless, we see somebody coming out of nowhere. Like, there's always that one guy, like the Dontari Poe, excuse me, I don't know what you call it. Dontari Poe? That man's a monster, by the way.
He's so good. Best running back in football.
He came out of nowhere, man. Didn't he throw a touchdown pass this year?
He did. It was the Fat Man Tebow pass. Did you see that thing? It was hilarious.
See, this is a different discussion altogether. But in the playoffs, why didn't the Chiefs bring that out? I mean, you should have just started Dontari Poe at quarterback.
You should have ran that play for your 2-point conversion.
Honestly, even after the holding call, they should have run that play because I had more faith in Dontari Poe making that pass than Alex Smith. And I'm actually an Alex Smith supporter over here, but I just would have loved to have seen the whole season on the line. Andy Reid getting all this crap about never wins the big game, never does anything out of the ordinary, super conservative. Last play of the game for your season, Dontari Poe's back at quarterback. I mean, that's theater right there.
That is theater. And what is the NFL if not reality TV theater? Doesn't really make sense, but I'm going to roll with it.
It was one of those things that's like, sounds very deep and makes sense, yet when you think about it, it shouldn't make sense, but it still does.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
That's what I was going for.
I mean, it's like you're trying to be Yogi Berra over here. But anyway, what were we talking about? Betting on the Cleveland Browns or something?
I don't know. I think it's about time we wrap this show up.
Right. Lucy, is that what we're going to do? She stared off into space, so I guess that's what we're going to do. Lucy has spoken.
Thank you for joining us for this inaugural episode of the Rollout Show.
Hopefully the first of many. And if you guys hated it, please be sure to follow us on Twitter at the Rollout Show. And be sure to tell us how terrible we are. And make sure you say that Bradley was the most terrible and he's awful and should just give up. And yeah, I mean, that's what I'm going with. I'm just trying to direct all the hate at you and deflect the blame off myself.
I mean, you were horrible. Absolute trash.
I'm the best show host in sports radio.
Book it.
Manti Te'o, the next Ray Lewis. Book it.
Thank you for listening. Yeah. You want to close us out, Mr. Host?
Thanks for listening to episode 1 of the Rollout Show. Please be sure to listen again for our next podcast, which is going to be a wide range of sports topics. And please don't hate us because we really want you to like us. So, yeah, this show has been sponsored by no one because it's our first show and we don't know how many people are going to listen to this. So, anybody wants to sponsor this, just hit us up on Twitter at The Rollout Show. Again, that's at The Rollout Show. For the 15th time in the past 2 minutes, at The Rollout Show on Twitter. Thanks. Y'all have a great day.